Welcome to today's video. Today we're going to be focusing on solving multi-step equations with variables on one side. We're going to show that mastery in class by scoring at least an 80% on the exit ticket. Hopefully you have the notes in front of you. If you don't, take out a fresh sheet of paper and we can get you a new copy of notes tomorrow. Now, when it comes to solving equations, we have a little saying to kind of help us remember what we're doing, and it's don't cry, bring it, sad Meg. Now, the D in don't cry reminds us that we need to distribute first. After we distribute, just like we did in expressions, that C tells me I need to combine my like terms. So before I even start solving the equation, I'm distributing and I'm combining my like terms. Now, we're going to bring it to solve it. We're going to use the reverse of GEMDAS to be able to solve the equations, just like we did in 1 and 2 step equations yesterday. We're going to solve those equations for our variable. Now, if we look at our first example, again, we want to start at the beginning. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to distribute. So I'm going to distribute this 2 to both my x and the positive 2. Well, 2 times 1 gives me 2x plus 4. I'm going to bring down the minus 4x and the equals 8. Now that I've distributed, I want to combine my like terms. The equal sign is like your divider. So if you need to, draw the line down to remind yourself so that you're only combining like terms on each side of the equal sign. I'm going to combine 2x and I'm going to combine negative 4x. I can't combine the positive 4 and the positive 8 because they're on opposite sides of the equal sign. So 2 minus 4 gives me negative 2x plus 4 equals 8. Well, from here it's just a two-step equation. So I'm going to start with my constant and I'm going to subtract 4 on both sides. Those cancel out, and I bring down the negative 2x. 8 minus 4 gives me 4. From there, negative 2 is my coefficient of x, so that means I'm multiplying. The opposite is to divide by negative 2. So x is going to equal negative 2. And we can use the same steps we used yesterday to check it. If I plug it back in, I have 2, negative 2 plus 2, minus 4 times negative 2, and that needs to all equal 8. Well, if I do my parentheses, 2 times 0 minus 4 times negative 2 equals 8. If I do the multiplication, I end up with 0 minus negative 8. 0 minus negative 8 is 8. Well, 8 equals 8, so we know we're correct. And you can plug those back in to check yourself each time, especially if it's not a multiple choice question. That way you can make sure you're typing in the correct response in that open-ended blank. If we look at our second example, I know the equation switched around, but we're still going to solve it the same way. We still want to start with distributing, and in this case, I'm distributing a negative 1/4. So negative 1/4 and negative 8 give me positive 2a, and then negative 1/4 and positive 16 give me negative 4. Now, in this case, I don't have any like terms to combine, because the 52 and the negative 4 are on opposite sides. So now I'm going to solve it as a two-step equation. The opposite of subtracting 4 is adding 4. Those cancel. I bring the 2a down. 52 plus 4 is 56. Well, 2 is my coefficient of a, so I'm going to divide by 2 on both sides. And that tells me a equals 28. Again, if we wanted to, we can plug it back in for a, and we should end up with 52 as our answer. If we look at the third example, again, start with distributing. Now in this case, I don't have a number that I'm distributing, just a negative sign. So I'm going to add that 1 there to remind myself. I'm also going to add a 1 in front of the x. So now I'm distributing a negative 1 to both numbers. Well, negative 1 times 1 is negative 1x. Negative 1 times negative 3 is positive 3. I'm going to bring everything else down as it is. Now I need to combine like terms, so I drew my line. That tells me I can combine negative 1 and positive 2, which gives me 1x plus 3 equals 2. From here, it's a two-step equation. The opposite of adding 3 is subtracting 3 on both sides. We're going to bring the 1x down. That equals negative 1. Now, from here, you can divide by 1 if it's helpful to remind yourself to do that. But either way, x is going to equal negative 1. Because that 1 in front of the x, we don't need it. That's just a visual reminder that it's there. And again, If you plug it back into the equation, it will work. You should get negative or positive 2 out on both sides. If we look at our last example, again, we want to distribute. So I'm going to start by putting a 1 in front of the n, and I'm going to distribute a 2 to both. So I get 2n minus 12 plus 6 minus 24n equals negative 72. And just remember, those parentheses don't mean to distribute to everything on the line. The parentheses are your starting and stopping point. Now if I combine like terms, I'm going to draw my line to remind myself I only do it on the same sides. I can combine 2n with negative 24n. I can also combine negative 12 with negative 6. So we want to make sure we're combining all of our like terms. Well, 2n minus 24n is negative 22n. Negative 12 plus 6 is negative 6. And my negative 72 is going to stay on the other side. Now we're down to a two-step equation. Well, the opposite of subtracting 6 is adding 6. Those cancel. I bring down negative 22n. Negative 72 plus 6 gives me negative 66. Negative 22 is my coefficient for n, so I'm going to divide both sides by negative 22. And in this case, n is going to equal positive 3. Again, go back in and plug it into your original equation. If you ended up putting negative 3 accidentally and you plugged it back in, you won't get the same answer. So it's one way to check yourself to make sure you're getting the right answer every time. Please bring your notes and any questions you have to class tomorrow. I look forward to seeing you then.